You're live on the air. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Tim. This is Uncle Ron calling.
Uncle Ron is in the house, my brother, my brother. How's the family, Uncle Ron?
Oh, family's doing fine. Family's doing fine. Thank you so much for asking. I guess the impetus for my call tonight is part of the Wolfpack family. I could feel a little, I don't know, tinge of I don't know what to exactly call it, but it was when Marvin called in night before last, I think it was, and he was talking about his time in the service and how he felt somewhat conflicted. And then you find out other people in the chat room who are also veterans, and I want every one of us to know we're okay, because if you're having some type of conflict with the fact that yes, we served our countries and we were well intentioned when we did it, and now we can see the truth. Well, we may not have ever seen the truth if we had not served. I would not go back into service at this particular point if I knew. If I knew back then, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, what I know now, I wouldn't have followed my father's footsteps. And, he has suffered from Vietnam, and he came a long way. And whether a soldier was in a conflict, a war, because no war has been declared since I don't know when, so they're all considered conflicts. But all the soldiers suffer who go to war. And I'm fortunate that I didn't. I've seen people get killed on training exercises, and you just keep moving on. Right. And that's not necessarily an easy thing. But I'm so glad that I know that what I did while I was in the service as an officer was the right thing. And that was to take care of my soldiers and tell them to get the hell out, because something just didn't add up. And for the millions of soldiers who are suffering ever since the Vietnam era time, we have all been duped. And it's a shame. It's a shame, because we all have gone in there in the service pretty much for similar reasons, meaning we love our country. And the cell job and the history of our individual families, where there's a long line of military service, so on and so on, is there for so many of us. And it's a shame that truly we have been taken advantage of. And at some point, I know when Michael A. Wood was a guest earlier last year,
right,
and what they did at Standing Rock was, I think, was a little bit too little, too late. I think that the veterans who have gone into service, we took an oath to fight against enemies, foreign and domestic. And for a lot of us, domestic never came into play. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're going to need to take the lead. I think we're going to need to take the lead. When you were at Philadelphia, and I was at Philadelphia, I was so hopeful that that place would have been overrun by hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
Because I don't think that while there were tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and a million, I'm sorry, the DNC would not have been able to walk out there with Hillary. They would not have been. And we need to do this. And I think that so many of us as veterans, we need to stand up. Right. And we're going to need to get unified ourselves and take the lead in a lot of these things. And when it comes time for protesting, and when it comes time for getting people out to vote, when it comes time for knocking on doors in 2018, we need to have a lead. We need to lead on this. And I guess that's about one of the main things. The other thing that I was thinking was that Democrats, we are not giving our politicians nearly the hell that Republicans are in their town halls.
Wow.
We are not.
Wow.
And I don't know why that is. I watched a veteran on the Jimmy Dore show just rip this Idaho Republican a new one about health care. And what she was able to say is, wait a minute, I've been around the world. I've seen it. And everybody in this room deserves universal health care.
Right.
You can't hide this from me because I've seen it.
Right.
And, you know, and that's a red state vet. So I don't know what we're doing. You know, people buying Feinstein in San Francisco, talking crap, and everybody making excuses on the Democratic side. No, there is no excuse. There is no excuse.
I never served in the armed services. I almost went in. My mom would not sign the paperwork. I was 17 years old. I wanted to do it. My dad, who I didn't have a relationship with because he was a Vietnam vet, suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. He had a lot of issues. And my mother and my father divorced when I was like 1. My cousin Ricky died on a training exercise, which Uncle Ron just highlighted. And the list kind of goes on and on. Like I have very little positive stories to tell, even secondhand from times in service. But I respect servicemen and women for the job that they do. I'd like to have less service women. Not because of the service woman, but because I think that we put them in harm's way far too many times for no other reason than to extract money from other countries. So that's how I see it. And but I respect anyone who does something for a noble cause. And sometimes a noble cause is just college. And that's horrible that we have college students, people who just need an education, you know, because in the hood, they tell you, man, play basketball, join the service. Like, that's all you got. All right? So that's what and if you get a record, you can't even do that.